I wonder how he gets in without getting noticed by, like, say, Crow or something. Blah, 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 blah. So, just watched chapter 2 and 3 of RWBY Volume 5. Sadly, it's just me. I don't have Gabe with me because he's kind of difficult to contact. I haven't been able to contact in like a week or two, so it's a bit difficult, but I have to continue on if I want to, you know, keep people like in the know of like what's going on as far as our like my and like the overall thoughts of like what's going on with RWBY and everything like that. So chapter 2 was kind of more focusing on the villains here. We have Lionheart reporting to Salem with Arthur and co. Right? They're actually using the same grim, and it seems that Cinder has actually made a full recovery.
Well, as clearly as you can.
Shut up.
Oh, goody.
You've
recovered.
I don't know how she lost her voice, but she, you know, she still has her like lost eye. But as far as we know, she has like her full power back. Reporting on this, we actually get some info as far as, well, we're getting the process of Lionheart reporting what Crow just simply told him, and that is Spring Maiden is in the hands of the Bronwyn tribe. What do we do with this?
You have to hurry. Crow is already at odds with my...
Leonardo, do you remember the first time we met? I remember.
Close. I thought we were gonna kill them all. Right? Okay, Cinder, I want your team to meet up with Watts, and we're going to pretty much convince Raven that we need the Spring Maiden, and for your best interest, they hand it over to us. Of course, Cinder is questioning about what's going on with RWBY, right? But you know, Salem's like really taking control over like what's going on. Like, all right, Cinder, you're not gonna see RWBY. The fact is that if RWBY masters her Silver Eye ability, whatever that is,
then you must take care to protect yours. There's only so much I can do to aid you.
Be patient. This is pretty much what she said. So we now transition to Weiss, like above the carrier. They actually encountered the very ships that sent out that distress signal, and they were pretty much ripped to shreds by these new Grim called Lancers. Oh my god. And these Lancers are traveling in packs. They're able to pretty much hookshot whatever they can find, so I guess like they thrive on airships. They have that ability where they can like pin onto like ships and pretty much bring them down by themselves. They also have a queen that leads them as well. So what was really cool in this scene was Weiss using her glyphs, not just to hold her in place, but also just to use all the elementals, because the carrier actually carries a lot of dust, so she has a lot of ammunition by that sense. And so here she is like using wind. I can't say magic because it's not magic for them, but there is magic in the show, but it's not magic for them. She uses ice, she uses fire, and uses those just to hold off on these creatures, to the point where they find like a nice little narrow cave-in where they can actually like attack on some of the rubble and actually send those rocks crumbling down on them. And that's when Queen Bee gets like alarmed, and that's when she comes in. Even with all the dust like upon impact making a huge explosion, it still wasn't enough to take down this Queen Lancer. Why not enough? Why wasn't enough? Weiss had to resort to her summoning, which was actually really cool. I wasn't expecting it to be as flashy as it was. They essentially have the summon up and charged in with summoning a sword in the middle. What was really cool was when he was going down for an arrow down strike, he actually faded away, which at first I saw that, I was like, oh no, don't tell me she doesn't have control. But no, it did some weird, like, I don't know, some anime shit is all I can really describe it as, where like in tangent with using glyphs to hold its position, actually like strike at multiple points at the Lancer until it was pretty much ready to finish it off. And though as cool as it was, the Queen did like a huge number on the ship and caused the entire thing to crash land. At that point in time, that's when Weiss wakes up later after. I'm guessing the pilot's probably dead.
I think
Oh shit.
we just hit the jackpot.
And she actually gets picked up by, of all people, the Bronwyn tribe. I think the next thing that happens is we get a look at Adam's side of things, which is going to the clan leader, or the White Fang leader, which is Sienna Khan. Hold on. Oh no, I'm getting mixed up with the preview in the next episode. But is someone who actually has a little bit more valid reasoning as to why she is the leader. And it turns out that Adam, with everything he did, he was actually kind of acting on his own, kind of extending a little bit too much, overextending what Sienna had in mind, creating equality. And it turns out here that Adam's not about that.
We can win a war against the humans.
So,
not only because
what
we
did
have the
Hazel
support of
say?
Hazel's master, but because the Faunus are the dominant species of this planet. We're better than humans. We have everything humans have
so
and
it's
more.
racism. All right.
Humans shouldn't just fear the Faunus. They should serve the Faunus.
It was based on his own popularity poll that people see him as the leader instead of Sienna. So Sienna essentially needs to step down. And so it's at this point that Hazel jumps in. Well, actually Hazel does jump in like before the whole like situation where essentially Adam overthrows Sienna. It was so weird, right? Because Hazel was like, all right, I had something to talk about. But Adam just kind of went on. And I was like, I'm sorry, what was Hazel doing here? And it turns out this, even to Hazel, this was like, what the hell is this all about? Because what ends up happening is that you see all the guards like around Sienna. And for the most part, it seemed like, you know, it was going to be, okay, they follow her. No, it was exactly different. Because all these other people like just started showing up, their weapons pointed at Sienna. And Sienna was not going to have anything about that. She's like, okay, no, this is not happening. And that's when Adam stabs her, like right then and there. So they essentially just killed off a character like that.
Thank you, Sienna. You were there when our people needed you. But they need me now. I'm sorry you couldn't see this through to the end.
Okay. And even Hazel was completely like taken back by what just happened. Next time, tell me what's happening. No one needed to be, no one needed to die today. And Adam's like, I seem to disagree, as he sits on the throne. So yeah, so Adam's the new leader, and you can now mark additional thing as to why you should hate Adam. So in the next episode, it pretty much focuses back on Blake and how her father was going to make the address as to what's going down. Like, okay, so here's everything that we found out, and they're going to display that to the public. We have a whole bunch of reporters here who actually honestly don't really seem as much Faunus, and there's definitely Faunus reporters, but there's also humans. Or that's what it seems like. I don't see any like animal-like characteristic about them. They're probably Faunus though. Pretty much displaying everything that's going on. They were talking about how Adam was going to overthrow Sienna, and how they were going to attack Haven Academy because that's what they wanted to do. How the plan was to go to Haven and just try to protect the people there. Okay, so wait. Oh no. No one's like, as a way to promote like equality upon the Faunus and the humans. And that's when Ilya comes in from the crowd saying like, how can you let this happen? How can you let these people who segregated us and treated us poorly, why would you want to work with them? It should be the other way around, right? Blake's father has to be as peaceful as possible, so he has nothing can really back this up. And it was actually someone who was the only one who could really stop her by just kind of jumping into the crowd and trying to physically stop her until she kind of jumps back and runs away. So I'm not sure what they're going to do there. I know that there is a plan to go to Haven, which therefore that's going to bring Blake closer to Ruby, and then that's kind of like the side mission that we all kind of want, was that Team Ruby to come back together. But it's definitely going to cause a lot more trouble, especially with Weiss, how she was going to meet up with everyone there, but had to get caught by the Bronwyn tribe, in which case we actually see the Spring Maiden herself, although it's not really told that she is, but we pretty much know based on the opening of her significance. But essentially they're going to turn in they're going to turn in Weiss over to her father. It was actually interesting because Weiss did not hold back. She was, though encaged, so tied up, she demanded answers like, what do you want? And there's no way I'm going to let this happen. So So that's really good character on her. I honestly, personally, I try to be on like good terms with these people and just figure out what exactly do they want and see if I can persuade them to a different way around. But that's probably not going to happen, considering that it's the Broadwind tribe. Weiss being held captive is a powerful resource for them whenever they could need it. It's strange though, because Weiss does, despite surprisingly really tough, just as a hostage, she does bring in the Winter card. Just like, yeah, Winter's gonna come find you, find me, I'm gonna get out of this mess, and you're gonna pay for it. Our Spring Maiden, she is looking at her like, yeah, something about Ironwood, you know, pulling all the troops. Yeah, no one's coming after you. So yeah, deal with it. The big thing in this episode, for sure, was actually taking place within the household that RWBY and Co. are all part of, are taking shelter in, and just kind of talking about Oscar.
Okay. Let's all just take a second and remember that this is very overwhelming for everyone.
Oscar's definitely like apprehended, like, this is the first time I've ever seen Huntsman before, so everyone's just kind of like, oh, okay, let's figure out a new plan. So why don't we get Oscar over here to talk to Lionheart, and now we can persuade things to our favor, right? Oscar has something to show everyone. What's he gonna do?
It is so very good to see you again, students.
Whoa. Ozpin takes over and kind of just, first of all, he wants to just say like, oh, it's really good to see you guys. I'm really sorry about everything that's been happening. It's my fault. And so we get more lore on who Ozpin is, in the fact that he is a person, a man who is a culmination of all these different people have gone through the same process of taking over another body in an attempt to stop Salem, each of them failing, and now they're telling them, we can't fail now. And so now, having Ozpin part of the team now, it's time to figure out like, okay, what do we need to do? Ozpin suggests that we train Team Ranger, because RWBY can't do anything without her scythe. Jean needs work with activating his semblance. Although he got better, he still needs to use his semblance. As for Nora and Ren, you guys also need work. I'm pretty sure like everyone knows now, or at least later on in the other episodes, that Lionheart's been compromised and we shouldn't be contacting him. In fact, the fact that Ozpin is part of Oscar is something that should be kept within that very room. No one should know until further notice. So it's pretty much a training session for RWBY and Co. Salem and her group isn't going to be acting upon what they want to do until like later on. So he's taking advantage of that to like train these 4 kids as well as Oscar, because, well, he needs help. Meanwhile, Crow is actually going to recruit more huntsmen, and knowing his experience here in Haven, he can pretty much go recruit more people.
The Mistral Council
Doesn't own every huntsman in the kingdom, and I've been here enough times to know where we can find some more.
so long as they're trustworthy.
You can trust them to put up a good fight. I'll throw together a list tonight.
Jesus Christ.
Good luck with that.
So that's what's happening on RWBY's side. Weiss is planning on escaping from the Broadwind tribe using her little tiny soldier Frenches. It's kind of boutique a little bit. Yang is going after her mother, which is pretty much the same place as Weiss is right now. So you can expect those paths to converge. Meanwhile, with Blake and RWBY, those paths probably won't converge until like a little later on. It seems that Menagerie is kind of like in a little bit of chaos right here and right now. As long as Blake remains there, she'll have to deal with Elia. I predict that there's definitely going to be a fight between the two of them, if not based on the opening. But then you can't really trust the opening either as far as like matchups either. So you have to be a little bit wary about that. There's no previews for the following chapter. I think a lot of animes kind of like desensitized me to that feeling. So having it deprived of me is like, oh man, I want to know what happens in the next episode. If I had to predict, it would probably be a training session with Ranger plus Oscar. In addition, we're going to see what Weiss is going to do, and we're going to see what Yang's going to do. Maybe a little bit of Blake, but if we're going to cover only three of the girls, then I'll probably think that Yang is going to have some kind of significance as far as what's going to happen in the Broadwing tribe. Maybe she'll show up there. Maybe Weiss has already done something. Maybe she escaped, or she caused some kind of commotion. And of course, we're going to see some training sessions with Oscar and the whole Ranger team. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to end the discussion here, and we're going to just look forward to seeing what happens next time. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think of these two episodes. I do apologize that we weren't able to cover them separately, and now we're trying to do all of them at once, just like for the sake of being in the know of everything as it keeps being posted. But yeah, so we're gonna end it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on the whole Volume 5 stuff, as well as any other things that might pique your interest as far as anime and whatnot, movies, etc. And support our Patreon. So yeah, we'll end it here. So thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. #bye everyone.